In this week's brand new episode of Hill Climb Monsters in Project Cars 2, it's challenge accepted as the Ferrari F355 challenge takes on our fearsome as your coast hill climb course. But can this near 400 brake horsepower Maranello Monster bag a result? Let's go find out. What's going on, guys? My name is Maranello and welcome back to Project Cars 2 and a brand new episode of Hill Climb Monsters. And this week's challenger, as you can see on screen and as you've already seen, is the aptly named Ferrari F355 challenge. And the reason I decided to take this car this week is purely because it's been on my list for a while and it's finally come around. This car came to the game via the Ferrari DLC, which was the final DLC pack for Project Cars 2. And yeah, when I drove it there, I sort of I added it to the list. It was one of the more enjoyable cars to drive from that DLC pack, and yeah, it's finally getting its turn. So let's jump straight into it and take a look at some of the stats first of all. So produced in 2001, it is rear-wheel drive. It's got a V8 engine, which I think is either, I can't remember if it's classified as mid or rear-mounted, but either way, it's got a six-speed six-speed H-pattern gearbox bolted to it. It produces 375 brake horsepower, which is a rather pedestrian number for a Ferrari. I think most of you will agree. It'll do 0 to 60 in just over 4.5 seconds, top speed of 187 miles an hour, and the weight is coming in at just under 3,000 pounds. It does have ABS, but no traction or stability control. Control difficulty is 2, and cornering speed is 2. So yeah, fairly impressive. Apart from the brake horsepower number, we're used to having Ferraris going beyond 500 brake horsepower. But yeah, this car's been around for a while. It was originally, I think it was they started producing it in 94, and the challenge package, which turned a regular 355 Bellonetta into the 355 challenge, they started offering that in 1995. And yeah, it was a $30,000 upgrade. It added lots of different things, you know, a new clutch, uprated brakes, bucket seats, fire extinguisher, and all manner of other things, a lightweight exhaust, and so on. And then around about 1998, they stopped offering it, I think, as two packages, where you'd buy the Ferrari F355 and the package. Ferrari had shipped the 355 and the dealer would fit all the stuff from the package to it. You can actually just go and buy a near enough fully completed F355 challenge, and there'd just be a couple of bits to pop on that the dealer would do, and then there you go, off you go racing. So yeah, it's a I'm not going to say an everyman racer, because you still have to have the money to buy a Ferrari in order to get into the whole challenge series, but anybody can go buy one, and I think you do have to do some testing and whatever just to make sure that you're up to scratch. But yeah, it's if you've got the money and the means, it is a good way to get into motor racing if that's something you wanted to do. But yeah, so pushing on to practice and setup, it's fairly well set up from the get-go, honestly. The big thing, though, and the thing I really couldn't... I got it so far, but I just couldn't get it exactly where I wanted it, and that was understeer. It was more the corner exit understeer. It'd be good through entry, and it would be good through the mid-corner, but it's just towards the back end of the corner, of some corners, especially longer ones, it would just start to trail off. And I played with tyre pressures, I played with damper settings, I played with roll bars, but because there's no adjustability to the front, there's no right front splitter to adjust, you're not really getting a whole lot of downforce at the front. You can adjust the rear, and sometimes the rear downforce can affect the front end a little bit, but yeah, I mean, it's one of the few things that I couldn't dial out. I mean, the other thing that I really couldn't dial out was the gearing. It was just way too long, and there's no adjustability. You can't adjust the final drive or anything like that, and it's just a little bit too long. But I mean, like I said, overall it's set up pretty well to begin with. The rear end's stable. The you know, it's good under braking, even heavy braking. It is fairly good, and I imagine that comes down to the ABS system. But yeah, there is a little bit of understeer, and I think, again, it just needs someone who's maybe a little bit better at setting up suspension than I am to get it fully to where it should be, and where it potentially could be, and as good as it could be under setup. So there we go. Unfortunately, normally at this point I'd be showing you some fairly sizable accidents, but there weren't really any big or good ones. Nothing really to write home about. Nothing that would make a highlight reel. It was just sort of longer corners, trailing off towards the back end and ended up in a wall or getting stuck on a barrier and just not being able to get off, that sort of thing. So we haven't got any of those to show you this time out, unfortunately. But yeah, moving on to the actual the targets for this episode. So I think we can confidently say it's not going to get on the first page because it falls into the same category as the car we drove in the last episode, the McLaren F1 GTR, which our best time is put as 8th in the world on PS4. So it's not getting anywhere near that. And to find the best 355 challenge time, you have to go all the way down to page 15 and position 141. Someone called Police 666. Whatever, set a time of 7:47.303. Now, that's not to say that that is the fastest time. There could be times of other drivers above. You know how the Project Cars leaderboards work. Once you set a time in one category, then that's it. Anything that falls under it won't get a place on the leaderboard. So, yeah, that's a tentative target. Looking at our leaderboards, I don't think it's going to be challenging on page number 1 or anything like that. I mean, the best it would have to be a 6:33.0 from that Ferrari FXXK. Page 2, doable bottom end, but a stretch. We've got the Ferrari 488 challenge in 14th, but I don't think it's getting anywhere close to that one. And yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be looking at the third page here. Nothing really comparable to it. I suppose you could say possibly the Toyota GT86. They're both GT cars. They both fall into that category, but there's such a long gap between them that, yeah, there's nothing really to put this thing up against, unfortunately. So, yeah, so we'll just stick to the target of beating the 7:47.303 that's on the current leaderboard. But yeah, so that's pretty much everything we need to go through. I think we're just about ready to go. So let's head down to the track now and let's find out how the Ferrari F355 challenge got on its best run. Okay then, guys, here we go. Ferrari 355 challenge on our Azure Coast Hill Climb course. And as we come down to the first corner booty curve, I mean, fairly straightforward. We do have to get out of the throttle just a little bit. We are drifting a little bit wide, but it's got a decent change of direction on this thing. So it wasn't too bad through the centre rest and through there, and coming down into the first big braking zone, cruise liner corner. Again, don't get it quite right, quite where I wanted it, but again, it wasn't too bad. I mean, it's not an overly difficult car to drive. It's just like I said, I think it could be a little bit better on setup, but it's just it could do with some little bit more front downforce, admittedly. But coming down to the magic roundabout, I learned early on that I couldn't take that. I couldn't take the bump on the inside. It would just split the car off into a fairly big accident, which I didn't actually get. I did have a fairly big accident with it, but I didn't get an actual video of it, unfortunately. But yeah, I learned that pretty early how to go around it. But we do stickman squats, pretty good. Again, good on the power out of there and onto the happy highway, and a chance for us to take a little bit of a breather. And yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, the other problem with this is the gearing is quite long. I mean, we're still in 5th gear, and we're just about going to get to 6th, just there, and then we're not getting anywhere near to topping out 6th gear as we come down towards traffic cone corner. But take that pretty well, carry a good amount of speed through there. Probably the best that I took it through all of my timed runs, and getting it down to 4th gear, down into here, Stonewall corner, and yeah, I mean, this one was fairly straightforward. This is one of the areas that understeer cars can really get caught out, but this wasn't too bad through it there. And as we come down to understeer now, again, wasn't too bad through here. That is a really tricky corner, and I don't think a lot of people realise how tricky that corner is. But coming into Ice Cream Cove now, and we get a bit of a slide there. You can see that while the rear end is relatively stable, it does have its moments occasionally. But coming down through onto what will be Cobra Pass now, and yeah, this it wasn't too bad through here. I did have a couple of times where I got runs invalidated through that corner back there where you cut a little bit too hard over the curb and it will just invalidate the run for some reason. Maybe you get all four wheels over it, but into the slowest corner on the course now, Captain Slow Corner, named after James May. We get through there fairly sharpish. Wasn't too bad through there. Under braking, like I said, this car is pretty good, but coming down towards the back end and the end of sector number 1, I'm going to put up a fairly good time. This is the best time we'd put up through all of my practice and quali runs as well, or quali runs or just timed runs, should I say. But it's Silver Spoon Village now and down the hill towards McDanger Curve. Like I said, this car is, it's not like you're having to fight it all the while. It's just through certain corners it will just either it'll be a bit hyper reactive and that will set the rear off, or it just will not hold its way all the way through a corner, a full turn through a corner. It will just tail off towards the back end a little bit. But through Fraggle Rock Corner and down towards Bridge Curve now, this long curved straight-ish near enough flat out run down to here. Bridge Corner was one of the more difficult ones. Second gear seemed like it was maybe a little bit too low, but third gear both a little bit too high. I mean, the picture it looks a lot faster than it felt actually driving it, but now we're coming into a tricky section for all cars, regardless of whether they're understeer or oversteer, and that is the Monga McRae Hull Complex. And I had a fair few accidents a little bit up there, not accidents, but just a few niggly little accidents where I just get on the grass a little bit and just drag me into a wall, and then that would be game over for the run pretty much. But we're okay this time out, and again, it's just like I said, it's just a fairly straightforward and simple car to drive. It just every now and again it will just have its moments, and that's what makes this car a challenge, I guess, is because 95% of the time it's fine. You can go fairly quickly with it as long as you're not driving like a prat. You can go fairly quickly through corners. It's just that 5% of the time it will just for some reason decide it wants to bite you, and it will come with no warning at all. But through Mirage 1 and then Mirage 2, again, this one was Mirage 2 is a little bit tricky. Again, it's just the back end of the corner. You can't get the throttle on as early as you would ideally like to. But I mean, overall, it's not too bad. But coming down into here again, the braking is good. Get that nose in, get over the grass a little bit, help you get around the corner, and away we go again up through this tricky sort of crested curve there, and down onto what will be the Great Ocean Highway now. Getting a little bit of air there as well, and through the tunnel, and yeah, through here this fast right left kink. Okay, I did have a couple of moments through there, but again, we've done very, very well through the second sector. That was the end of it just back there, and now we're into the final sector now. And this was an area where I thought this car would, this would be the simplest area for it. This would be the area where it's going to excel. If it's going to excel anywhere, it's going to be through this final sector. As we come through here and onto the viaduct straight, this one again, you just see through the longer corners, you do have to just taper the throttle a little bit and get out of it. And you can't stay in it, which is really annoying. It's just front end, I don't think it's front end grip, I think it's just a case it just lacks aerodynamic grip. I think that's it, because it's through mostly the faster corners, the longer faster corners, where this thing really does start to struggle. But down towards Deception now, and don't get it quite right. Could have cocked the apex a little bit closer there, but coming now onto the onto sweeps now. Again, pretty good through here. Again, do have to be relatively careful, because it would just, I don't know, the tyres seem like they're very well in, but it just seemed like at this point the tyres were maybe just overheating just a little bit, and I just wasn't getting the bite I wanted on turning. So I was having to be a little bit careful through here, and I was aware that we'd done, you know, personal best through the first and second sector, so I didn't want to balls it up because we're on for a pretty good run here. And we come now down onto Rocky Road, the final run down towards the end of the course now. And again through here, because it does have understeer, it's round here that it's going to get caught out if anywhere. And especially this right-hander, I thought this is where it get caught out, but it wasn't too bad through here actually. I'm absolutely flat through here, up into 5th gear. But getting it down into 3rd for what will be the final corner. This is where we have our one issue of the run. Just get into the wall a little bit. Struggle to get off of it. It costs us some time. But we come across the line in a time of 7 minutes 21.963. So a fairly good time there. It didn't beat the our leaderboard target, but it did beat the target we set ourselves on the actual full-blown leaderboards. If it had got a time, it would have been all the way down on page number I think it was page number 9, I think it was, and position 86, and fairly nice company around there. You've got a Toyota GT1 and a Porsche 911 GT3R, CLKLM. I mean, these are just very, very basic times, I imagine. But yeah, so that's where it would have gone. In terms of our Hill Climb Monsters leaderboard, it places itself in 22nd. So like I said, it couldn't quite beat Toyota, but there wasn't really anything comparable for it to go up against. So 7:21.963, fairly respectable time, I'd say, and probably as good as it's going to get. I mean, without that little niggle at the end, like I said, to some of the longish corners, does sort of catch it out. The faster, longer corners, it did catch me out there. I think maybe we lost maybe half a second there, so it wouldn't have made a big difference to the time. It wouldn't be the Toyota, but yeah. So there we go. The Ferrari F355 challenge. 22nd on our overall leaderboards, and if it had got a time on the full-blown game leaderboards, it would have been in 86th place. I apologise, 86th place there. But there we go, guys. So that is the end of today's video. So thank you everybody so much for watching. If you did enjoy this, you would like to see more Project Cars 2 or general racing content from myself, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you have suggestions for cars you'd like to see me drive in this series, I'm always open to your suggestions, so just drop a comment down below and I'll be sure to add it to the list. And also make sure you go check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. There are links in the description. There are a lot of cool gaming clips recently that I'm putting on my Facebook page, so if you want to see some funny or just random gaming clips, sim racing clips, then go check me out there. But again, guys, thank you everybody so much for watching. Stay cool, and as always, I will catch you in the next video. Peace.